The Chaos Reign. Chaos Reign presents Kicked Out of Heaven, Volume 3, with special guest Keenan Booker. Broadcast October the 4th, 2020. Enjoy.
The views expressed on Talk Real Solutions, hosted by Tyrone Thompson at TalkRealSolutions.com, are the views of Tyrone Thompson and do not reflect the views of TalkRealSolutions.com, YouTube, or etc. The content here belongs to Talk Real Solutions and its many contributors. Views and opinions expressed by all contributors belong to them and not TalkRealSolutions.com or Tyrone Thompson, the host, or etc. All data and information provided on the site is for informational purposes only. Talk Real Solutions makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, correctness, suitability, or validity of any information on this site and will not be liable for any errors, omissions, or delays in this information or any losses, injuries, or damages arising from its display or use. All information is provided on an as-is basis.
In a world where there's crime, corruption, violence, rape, murder, theft, and our forms of atrocities that plague the world in which we live in today. What you're witnessing, we are living in a state of chaos, and it'll take a more greater or extremer chaos to restore the order in which the world we live in today. Good evening, black people. This is Chaos here, Chaos Rain here. And tonight, I have my special friend, special guest, returning for another edition to a well-written masterpiece that he set out and wrote for the last 3 years now. So before I give you the premise of tonight's show, if you be so kindly, go to talkworldsolutions.com. Under talkworldsolutions.com, you'll see the what we call a 3-point plan for Black Power and Black Achievement. Also, list of Black-owned banks should be on the website as well. And if you're on the website right now, there is also a donation tab where you could donate as little as $5 to the show. Contribution will be appreciated and further growth of this channel. We also have the latest articles, news of this channel. Or actually not channel, but going on right now. The latest is there. So if you like to know any more information, it would be nice if you go check out the website itself. Trust me, you will like it. You will not be disappointed. I see that people are watching not only on Facebook, but also watching on YouTube as well. So, and another thing, let people know we are back up on YouTube again, Talk World Solutions. So, if you're not subscribed to Talk World Solutions on YouTube, be so kindly hit that notification bell, top bell, and make sure you subscribe to that channel. Also, subscribe to Chaos Rain channel as well. Title is spelled Chaos Rain. Chaos Rain is spelled CHAOSREIGM. So subscribe to that channel as well for all of good and interesting podcasts, live streams as well on my channel as well. And I don't mind hearing from y'all through the comment sections during every stream or live stream on Chaos Rain channel. I like to hear from you, some feedback, to see how things are going, what you like or don't like about the channel. I am not a person that will not take no criticism. I will oblige and welcome all criticism. I would appreciate if it be more respectful, but like I said, you're free to leave a comment on how you feel about the content. So subscribe to Chaos Rain channel as well and hit the top notification. Let me search what's going on here. All right. That's pretty much it. So we will begin. Tonight's broadcast is titled Chaos Rain Presents Kicked Out of Heaven, Volume 3. I have my guest return back on Talk World Solutions, the one and only Keenan Booker. So if you there, Mr. Booker, press star 61. I might open your line. As I wait for Mr. Booker to press star 61, so I can see his line open. As y'all know, I am doing content again on Chaos Rain channel. So if you were missing a lot of episodes, don't sweat it. Some of them are on other outlets, podcasts, particularly Google Play, Apple, etc., Anchor podcasts. So most of the previous shows and uploads are on there. So you're a person that's not familiar with the YouTube channel, you can also find me on podcasts as well. All right, let me see if I can get him on the board. Keenan, you there? Can you hear me? Hello? I can't hear him. Give me 1 second, people. Let me figure something out. As I wait for my guest. And if you're not familiar with Kicked Out of Heaven, as y'all know, for the last year and a half, I have did extensive streams on this book. It's very much a thick book, but a necessity to have in your library as any person if you want to understand actual history of European or Eurocentric culture, I think out of all research books that I have come across, I think nothing was well read and more defiant with definitions like Keenan Booker himself. I think he's the only closest scholar, young upcoming scholar, that's put in the necessary work to reveal the actual history of European from past, present, and potentially what will lead to the future. I think one of the few things that this community never understands about Eurocentric culture is a very much a very twisted, demented, sick culture in its way, with some beautiful essence to it. Because to understand how people or human beings conduct themselves, you have to understand the people that have conquered you and colonized you mentally for the last 400 years. And you're not going to get a better understanding of the psychology of the European without understanding his literature, his artwork, his abstract artwork. All these compel to why he behaves in an erratic way, a very much animalistic way towards others, including himself. If y'all know that this particular book, and I remember getting this book last year, and I have this book now for over a year and a few months. At times I'm on and off reading certain books, and I make myself pick up certain books and read it. But this doesn't negate for most people that's app readers to read the information itself personally. Wait, hold on. Let me do this. Okay, he's taking it. Okay. Yeah, one of the few things about this book, especially the history of it, if I give you a reference, a little backstory of this book, which I could probably do now while we wait. We'll start off from volume 1, just to recap, so a lot of people don't know. The first volume deals with what we call the Mud Edition. Kick out of Heaven, volume 1. And in this book, with his crest, the first edition, I'll give you a reference. It deals with the environment. Now, why is the first chapter dealing with environment, or part 1 at some point? Because to know how a man or how a race of people function and operates, you must understand what has happened to them during their environment. Because average Europeans live in Europe, East Asia, upper parts of the cold parts of the Caucasus Mountains. So, chapter 1, it deals with epigenetics, weather and natural disasters. This deals with natural disasters. Chapter 2 deals with living conditions. Chapter 3, money and the market. Chapter 4, day-to-day life. Chapter 5, the literature. Chapter 6, the customs. Now, the first 6 chapters deals with everything that compels the origins of how Europeans lived before they came across black people, particularly the Moors during 700 or earlier 700, like I would say like 16 to 1700. So, as you know, the Europeans back in the centuries ago dealt with a lot of catastrophes, mostly cold climates, natural disasters, and all the above that make them very erratic in their thinking, make them act primordial, animalistic, to act in their nature of a survival mode. You know the saying, survival of the fittest? That's what they compose themselves as during so much bad fallings or fall from grace from light. And they go through very harsh climates. I would say they go through more harsh climates than any human right now from existence. if we want to study other cultures. I think they have it the worst. And everybody knows epigenetics is something that's embedded to genetic-wise. So with all those travesties, disasters, it stays within them genetics. So they have a compensity to not only forget, but not to go through something like that, what they have gone through for the last couple of 100 years. Living conditions. As you know, it goes back to unkept conditions from households, from huts, houses, like certain things that's not kept clean, including using like weapons to kill animals so they don't eat their food, eating food raw. That's another thing of living conditions, that they never live very much a clean lifestyle and never took cleaning a necessity. Hell, they have not even taken bath seriously until the late 1700s. So that's how they did live in the living conditions. Money and market. As you know, money and market is something that they come across and got a more understanding of how money works through the Moors. Now, this is for me, mind you. And a lot of people could probably agree or disagree with this. That's fine. But in regards to how they function and deal with money, and I'm going to tell you a little secret. Before the fall of Egypt and Romans started to come play Greeks, Greco-Romans and all that stuff, taxation is really a Eurocentric creation. How I know? Because you never had or find stories of people, mostly predominantly black people, taxing the public. And so these people came around and started to surface in a state of, I would say, power in a degree, not fully power, but was coming into awakening or somewhat of enlightening existence, is when they developed what we call a tax system. I'm not sure if it was developed during the time of Julius Caesar. I could be wrong. I had to find some books on that, but I know the taxation is a Eurocentric thing that came around after the fall of Kemet that lasted for over close to 28 dynasties. And during the era of Cleopatra and stuff. So taxation is a European thing. So let you know that. What else? Oh, also, the day-to-day life, I can't remember much what was part of that chapter. I think it's normal living conditions, a way of life Europeans live during that time. And I think this is more depicted during the 15 or 1300s, I believe, how they used to walk or function during life. And, you know, like always, they function the same way how they function now. You know, it is what it is. Some of our people have gotten bad habits from these people because we've been conquered mentally, and we could say physically as well, for some time now. So the day-to-day life of European is the same day-to-day life to the average human being or American today. The literature. As you know, most Europeans, in regards to literature, wrote enough works, including some Moors and Africans wrote too, but they never disclosed that during history books like that, unless you find certain books that talk about history of us and them. But literature was very much an important aspect in amongst European culture. And one thing is known, let me check, is that during the literature, a lot of the information about history, or what we know as history, was kept mostly for Europeans, because they're the ones that took an emphasis to keep record of everything. Not saying most of our people back then didn't keep information. We did, but we did it in a different way. Mostly it's usually pictorial, and we can go as far as even words itself. I think the Europeans take more of a pride to keep things documented through information. Hold on a second, guys. All right, guys. So that is. Oh, and one other thing, the customs number of things that normally how they function customs-wise, from clothing, movement, etc., how Europeans operate custom-wise. And throughout the whole entire chapter, which I go on and on, and I could probably run down the rest of the chapters. Part 2, Courts, Crime, and Punishment. Chapter 1 of that is the justice system. Chapter 2, the executioner. Chapter 3, the animal and criminal cases. Chapter 4, corpse and medicine. If you're there, Keenan, you can press *61. And animal crime cases and corpse medicine, which I said. Part 3 is dealing with peasants, noble, knights, and kings. And in regards to those chapters, they deal with Chapter 1 for 6. Chapter 1, the food. Chapter 2, the clothing. Chapter 3, the peasants. Chapter 4, the nobles and the knights. And Chapter 5, mad kings and demented queens. And Chapter 6, the castle of war. And Chapter 4 deals with women and the children. And as you know, child support was not derived during them days, but it talks about how women and children were raised and groomed during Eurosubject society for the first 10,000 years. Chapter 1, the women and the children. Chapter 2, marriage customs. Chapter 3, the unspoken acts. Chapter 4, the red light district. Chapter 5, women only. And Chapter 6, crime and punishment. And the last is the coda. And, there's other pictures and illustrations. That's pretty much Chapter 1, or actually Volume 1 of Kicked Out of Heaven. Now, and I see Keenan Booker. I've seen the book. Give me 1 second. Let me just reference a recap. Chapter, or what we would call Kicked Out of Heaven Volume 2, as you know, is considered the ice book, the frost book. In this book, it compels of a continuation from the mud edition of Volume 1. Part 5 deals with the IMP, insanity, maniacs, plagues. It roughly, Part 5 has 8 chapters. Chapter 1, the vices and hallucinations. Chapter 2, disease and sickness. Chapter 3, purely insane. Chapter 4, the maniac. Chapter 5, plagues, cause. And Chapter 6, the Black Death. Chapter 7, the psychosocial effects of the plagues. Chapter 8, the plague battles. Part 6 deals with witchcraft. Now, mind you, to a lot of black people that, or any person in general that reads this book, try not to get too caught on spookism. This is all historical information because, and I'm going to tell you why. The European, like I said in the previous volume, is well known to keep information and literature to things that has happened back then and probably might be still happening now because, remember, the world is a big place. We don't see things or hear things that they talk about throughout the news outlet or what we see with our own eyes. You have to go through the books, the literature work, the information itself. And always keep in mind, why would they write this? Is it folklore? Is it fairy tale? Or is it reality? Keep that in mind. Chapter 1, folklore and superstition. Chapter 2, magic. Chapter 3, the occult serial killers. Chapter 4, the witchcraft. Chapter 5, the witches. Chapter 6, the witches' vice. Chapter 7, partying with Lucifer. Chapter 8, the tribute. And Part 7, hell above and below. Or what you know the hearing saying of the old Egyptian saying, what's above, so below. It has 6 chapters. Chapter 1, what we call like corporacy and shape shifting. Chapter 2, the werewolf. Chapter 3, the undead and the vampires. Chapter 4, death and ghosts. Chapter 5, welcome to hell. And Chapter 6, the devil. And from what their literature or what they term view as the devil, is much different than how we view the devil. So that is just a recap of the first 2 volumes. Some that I have right now on my channel, me and him interview on Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, and some part of Chapter 3. But tonight, nonetheless, we are now going to try to deal with Chapter 3. So, as no further ado, I open my Keenan Booker, the God, 720, back on Talk Real Solutions. What's good, Keenan? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm right here, B. What's good?
I'm good. Welcome back again, my brother, to another edition of a wonderful work from Volume 1 from Volume 3. One question, Ken, before we go into this volume partially. One of the things that you find interesting that you get feedback from a lot of people that have gone through all 3 volumes of this book.
Nobody has completed all 3 volumes to my knowledge.
Wow.
Really? I met one lady who said she did, but I didn't really feel that energy. You know, this is the thing. There's 2 different things between looking at words and reading a book. In this book, you know, in these 3 books, you have to complete it. The majority of people drop off in the plague section in Volume 2. They can't really get past that. There's some very hardcore energy in Volume 2. And that literally is the Mount Alps. By the time they get to the snow cap on the Mount Alps, it's over for them. They end up disintegrating at the top. They end up stuck there at the top of the mountain. Huh?
But bro, that's what you know when you are a very good author, right? And when you a person, not you, but let's say anybody that's a reader that reads this volume, and they can't get through the 2nd volume. That tells you are putting enough time and energy and information and broken out to a way where it either frightens you or you just can't reminisce what you're reading. Like, it's like, this is too much.
You will feel this. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you right there, but you will feel this information. And if you make it past the plague, you have to complete the rest of the book. If you don't, you may be stuck in limbo. And there is a very hardcore spirituality with this book that will launch you into a zone like that. Yeah.
Have you ever did a disclaimer for the future reference of any future books you write? Said, reading my books, you're going to fall into a category where you might not be the same.
I did a disclaimer in the Black Man's.
Hello, Kenny, there? Your mic went out. Oh, as he get his mic in order. For all those, if you want to call into tonight's show, it's 712-770-4160. The access code is 915-411 pound. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna have to recheck. Yes, I don't hear you now. Okay. Let me check. If you drop off, press star 61 again, Keenan. If you can hear me, press star 61 again. All right. Let me check. All right, you're back. All right, you back? Hello? You hear me? Hello? Keenan?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm back.
Yeah. Okay, your line dropped. Yeah, that was very powerful. But like I said, a disclaimer is a necessity now. If you tell me most people except one woman has not completed the 2nd volume, that's telling right there.
Right. Nobody's gotten past the 2nd volume, bro.
Mm-hmm. Now,
the second.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
All I was gonna say was the 2nd volume is really unique. It's one of my favorite books that I composed. It was very mentally wrenching. It is the most powerful magic book or book written on magic and witchcraft in the 21st century and probably ever produced in American literature, And I'd like to say that specifically on how it's designed, on how I take you from alcoholism, I take you from the vices of hallucination, and I take you into the manias, then I take you into the plagues, then I start I'm showing you so many facts that leave a wide door of large possibilities when it comes to the werewolfism, the vampirism, so on and so forth, you know?
But you see, if I was able to decide to venture into writing books, that's the probably mark that if I want to take it, I should take it there. If I'm going to look for certain information to get my readers to be in a state of trance and say, my God, this really did exist? Is this out here now? Some people can't even fall asleep tonight. They're going to have dreams, lucid dreams. Say, boy, especially with the picture, say, damn, I always imagine why they always make TV shows, movies of this, but I didn't know this really exists back in history. I'm scared for my life. I ain't even hold my pillow hard. If you're a woman,
okay, well let me ask you. In reading the material, how much of that came up in your mind of how much medieval was already loaded in you from little minute things like a flea circus or, what's another small one? Mario Brothers, you saving the princess and you're at the castle and you got to fight the dragon. That's Mario. That was, so how many of those type of things happened to you?
Well, to me, from my premise, because I'm always the nerdy person, like supernatural stuff, that it never bothered me much, to be fair, honest. I think maybe because, of the background of some my friends and family, maybe a little bit, to the degree. Because, black people must understand we are spiritual people, and we don't know how to utilize it properly, So when we read certain literature, it does come out of us. You get me? Certain information. Is we don't know how to harness it better for our betterment, Especially dealing with history from Europeans, That's why a lot of people don't really want to indulge into these people's culture and their actual history. And it makes me wonder why they shed it to us to the degree why we have to go and search for it. Keenan? This information, yeah.
Were you asking me a question? Do you want me to answer what I think about that?
Yeah. That's a question.
Well, I don't want to sound, Van Helsing. I don't want to go there with you right now. But, I do believe that there is a possibility that, they could have showed up on those coasts with werewolves chained on the ships. And scared your DNA for 500 years from the beings they brought to your ass,
Yeah.
Man. Like we don't know what's in the back of Russia. You don't know what's in the back of Germany. I've had Uber riders get in my car that lived in Germany and told me that there are walled cities in Germany to this day that fully operate underneath medieval structure with executioners, the whole thing going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows? There's a large possibility with it.
Well, like I said, because this book in its completion from volume 3, I think was last year, the end of early of 2019. That I give people another year and a half, most likely. I would give them now. They should probably complete now if they're brave enough, because we have time now to read if we're making use of it now. Since I was not working like that. So I expect more people to really go into the information. I expect more of our people, mostly men and women. I expect the women to go for this information very hard, and have that embrace their hearts and feelings, saying, "Oh, I can't. That man." When he wrote, it just touched me. I just don't know what to do. Because, we have some of the Gothic chicks or some of us that do that Gothic stuff. This would be a good book for them to read, If you think that is nice, yeah.
Oh, well, what I was going to say was the Gothic world of today, they're just doing it for style and fashion. Goth is a lifestyle, you understand. You have to understand, I wear collared shirts. I'll wear a collared shirt and walk out here on the strip of Las Vegas looking like a tourist. And rockers with big mohawks, they will smell it on me. They'll look me dead in my eyes, and I'll drink their soul, because I know what goth is. You know what I'm saying? You're doing it as a plaything. You know what I'm saying? I've had certain experiences where I'm just hanging out, and goth girls just swarm around me. You know what I'm saying? And we just end up talking, and I end up talking about the plague masks on their little necklace or something, and they didn't even really. Who knows what they know? And that's definitely proven inside the material, and with the experiences that you'll have with Caucasians outside of the material, you don't know what they know.
Yeah.
You know, now that this material is dropped, we know that they know a lot, and you better approach the game like that. So, you know what I'm saying? And it's funny we've been talking about Volume 2 so much is because you get cleaned up with Volume 2 with Volume 3. Like, see, when Volume 2, there gets to a point after the plague, you'll start feeling. You will literally feel your soul scream for light. You've never, bro, it's a weird feeling. Yeah, it gets so dark in that Volume 2 that you will literally feel your soul screaming for light. And that light is found with the saints in the Volume 3. You know, and it takes you a little while in the Volume 3 to get to the saints. After you get to the saints and the incorruptibles and all of that, then you get washed up with the love of the Black Madonna, you know, and you have to get shown that love has a little bit of perversion mixed up in there. And, you know, it's there because that is a part of the love dynamic of humans. You see what I'm saying? Like this information takes maturity. You see what I'm saying? So, for instance, looking at sex in a medical format, what have I told you all white women through their practices since Greece, Rome, and medieval has programmed their DNA to look at sex in a medical condition. And that's why you see them have the freedom that they have with what you see on porn. They don't look at it as a sex act. They're looking at it as a medical healing act. So when you look at it as a medical healing act, anything is permissive, basically, in order to heal your woes or your ills or your pains that you have in order to get back to work so we can build and progress. And you know what I'm saying? You see? So there's a love inside evil, you know, and there's also an evil inside love. And when you conquer those areas, that's when you get the complete yin and yang picture, you know, and that's what the kicked out of heaven is. And that's why I haven't been attacked by it. That's why police nod their hat when they see me. You know what I'm saying? It's because I went about information in an unbiased format. And for you to approach information as in any biased format of pointing the finger and saying, ha, 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 you have already depreciated your value to be any form of scientist. Right, because you're not looking at it as organism, cause, and effect. So basically, this whole thing is the whole kicked out of heaven is organism, cause, and effect. There is no white man there, you know. What I'm studying the principles of attainment of power and conquering. I'm not studying white people at all. White people are the mule that was practiced upon, that was mastered by. You see? There's a separation element that I utilize when it comes to thinking that you have to utilize in order when you do that with cars. A van, a truck, a four-wheeler car, a motorcycle, these are all vehicles that move automobiles, but they're all in different categories. You see what I'm saying? So, but they all fit within the same pie at the same time, but they divide the same pie at the same time. You see? And that's how this thing works. Yep. That is the way you have to think. If you cannot think in a format of disassembling and reassembling, then you're done. You know nothing about the inner workings, you see. And that's what the whole kicked out of heaven is for. And that's why you have to meet. If you start that material, okay, let me put it to you like this. Okay. The material is written in 3 different formats. One format is written in a conversational piece. So you can sit it down on the table. You can flip it open to anything, you know. You can read a piece, have something. Friends come by, you have your tea and your crumpets, okay? You can read a piece or two, you see. And then there's another layer. This layer is the same format as the first layer, but in a different eyeball. So there's the educational scholastic layer that I wanted it to be used as reference material. And then it is also built for the dragon. And that's why you go through the mud, the ice, and the last is the dragon, you see. And that's from cover to cover. If you read this material from cover to cover all the way through, you will be a beast. You will be 10 feet taller by the time you're done. There will be red carpets rolled out for you everywhere you go. You know, you'll be at a... Yeah, because of the way you talk and the way you carry yourself and what you understand about existence now. You will shake hands with death. You will meet death. You will smell death. Death will curl in your intestines during the reading of this literature. Think I'm praying. It's up in there. Oh, yeah.
But, you know, one thing.
Go ahead.
One thing you mentioned about death, and that's one of the few things that holds the human element back, their fear of death itself. And notice saying you could conquer it. You could deal with it. You know, it is a part of existence. And to be afraid of it, it holds you back as a being to your actual purpose. I'm not sure if you follow me on that one.
Birthday is Wes Craven. Okay? Wes Craven.
Repeat what you said, because I think you broke up. I don't know if you heard me. But
I said my birthday is August 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same birthday as Wes Craven. Wes Craven, who did all of the Freddy Krueger movies, Friday the 13th, and Elm Street, and, you know, Jason Voorhees and all of that. He did all of that before. Right.
He was a director and writer, or he was a director?
Right, he was a director and writer. He's one of the top known. He's the most famous director and writer of horror in Hollywood. I have his same birthday. We have the same birthday. So, and then here's another thing. Right, and here's another one. One of the Warner brothers has the same birthday as me, too. It's August 2nd. And in the third volume, we will also discover that the individual who designed the Statue of Liberty was born on August 2nd. So I'm showing you that these individuals that come through on this date, August 2nd, own and control some type of world power structure that they can produce in this existence. And that's what Kicked Out of Heaven is for me. So that is a real world. There's real energies up in there. You will hear real screams. You will smell real smells. You will live through the experiences if you read that book from cover to cover, you know. And it's powerful. That's why the energy of death is really felt up in there. I had to explain all that to let you know that, you know, there's some type of weird time warp black hole that is operating with my date of birth. And that's the energy that just came through. So that stuff is all thorough. The purity that you feel from the saints, the purity that you feel with the Black Madonnas that's trapped in the literature is very real. It is a software program. It's very, very real, you know. And you'll meet death in the plague section. And in the guise of war. So you have to understand that. Yeah, you see, you got me talking about this stuff too heavy. It'll start pouring out of my voice. So, because it's that deep. The mental wiring is so deep that, you know, I have a lot of different spaces in me that can come out, bro. If whatever goes on, you know, you learn how to control your aura better. My hearing became deeper. My sense of smell became deeper dealing with literature. It rewired my whole thing, you know, because because what happens is my name is Keenan Booker, so that's a European name, first name and last name, okay? Mm-hmm. And then we all got some slave masters down the line, so you have European DNA in you. So when you read this information, you're opening up the European genetics that's already in you. So there's going to be a lot of memories and a lot of stuff that pops up that you're not even intelligible about during your time period. So,
interesting. I never thought of that.
Yeah. Right.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, because a lot of us have some portion of less than 15 or greater percent of the Eurocentric blood in us through, you know, we're not getting to that, but we have it in us. So you discern vibration verbs or just certain reading certain literature should bring back that genetic epigenetics of that.
Right, of whatever events may be loaded in your DNA, and you may have witches screaming. Okay? Because, that happened to me reading Volume 1, Volume 2. You will hear witches screaming at the stake. And you ask yourself, how in the hell did you hear such a high-pitched scream? You're sitting in your living room. Because these are curdling screams that I've never heard before, bro. I'm telling you, these are screams that can't be reproduced by regular stands. A girl, Mariah Carey screaming at her highest point, can't produce the same type of frequency scream that would come from a woman being burned at the stake. Right. So for you to hear those type of screams in your mind is a whole nother level of science. And that's what's going on in that literature, Because the events are all real. There's too much evidence. You've been shoved with evidence your whole life. All I got to say is Harry Potter. There's evidence. Game of Thrones. There's evidence. There's so much evidence that everything in Kicked Out of Heaven is verified by everything that you've been watching since you've been born. When you want to talk about the video games you've been playing, the words you've been using, the whole gamut.
Indeed.
So, yeah.
To give them the call number again for those that's listening, thank y'all for listening. The call number for tonight's show is 712-770-4160. The access code is 915-411#. I repeat, 712-770-4160. Access code 915-411#. Tonight's stream is titled Kicked Out of Heaven, Volume 3, with my guest, Keenan Booker. In regards to this, because there are a picture art gallery at the middle part of this book, because the book is half and half. But one thing that I've caught mostly is more in depth of the role of the church in Eurocentric history that still plagues us today, in regards to the blood of Jesus Christ, that we are engaged in a sense of a ritual, a sacrifice that is, in words, cannibalistic. A lot of people went over it that don't think about that. And Fig said that we don't eat people, but through the history back then, that this is a normal custom to these people. Cannibalism. I remember one scholar from that wrote about mummies, vampires, and werewolves, that they talk about cannibalism in more depth. But in regards to the role of the church, it's like a little small portion of cannibalism to show you are engaged in the sacrifice. From eating this, you are one with this. To get ordained, you must engage in a form of sacrifice. That a lot of people don't pay attention. So that was very deep. And that was in certain parts of, I think, on page 70, one of the pages that I found out. And you leave. Yeah, and one thing I want people you go, the relic part, yes. And one thing before you say to a lot of people, that when you read Keenan's books, he always give a summary during each section of the chapter. But before you get to that his summary, you want to get an understanding of what is in the previous chapter before the God 720 gives his closure of that from what you're reading. And the reason I'm telling people now for the first time I'll read his material work is you got to paint a picture of that time frame. He'll use certain definition words from the what do you call it? Not thesaurus, old encyclopedia, or old what is it, Keenan?
Yeah,
these are words that
I get what you're saying. Let me interject and clarify.
Okay, go ahead.
But what he's saying is I was so deep into European thought and understanding when it comes to point of view that also my point of view is written in the same style and format. Is basically what he's saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing with this particular volume 3, there's a lot more definition terms. So when he breaks down, it's something you want to keep at eye. So when you hear this word, you know what it means of that time and still present today. So when you break it down, it it comes home to the old section part of that chapter, you know? And you know how a lot of our people, a lot of us, we get lazy. We just feel that we get it the first time. I don't get things the first time. Usually when I read it, I'll have to eventually highlight it and eventually go back to it if I wasn't clear before I come across your understanding of it. You get me, Keenan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But these are people that if you're active reading or you don't understand, it's always good to, like I said, this is a encyclopedia of history, so you can go back to certain chapters. You don't have to go through, like, from the beginning to end. I prefer most people go for that because how we were trained to read certain things. But you should go at it in your own pace. Because, remember, the more you read into it, the more you could get drawn into it. It's going to put something on you, It's going to bring you to a certain place.
Mm-hmm.
You get me? Especially the images. Mm-hmm. The images are very crazy in this book. This ain't no joke. Mm-hmm. The paintings. It's no joke at all. I'll be honest with you, Keen. Go ahead. Come on, say something about that.
No. I wanted to go ahead and say what you got to say. Come on, tell me.
Listen, I sometimes wonder if I can have certain children, certain age, look at the pictures if they're able to read this book. They see a picture. Oh, what's this? What is this? And I have to sit there and I have to explain. Yeah. Because the pictures if it don't give no child nightmares, seeing some pictures, I don't know what will. Yeah, well, that's just me. Don't mind me. Kidding. You still there? He dropped off? Oh, damn. He'll call back. 1 second. Yeah, man. The pictures are just out of this world, people. I'm telling you, the artwork is ridiculous. This is like a whole museum of an actual textbook of history. I'm waiting for him to call back. I tell you, and I like to give a shout out to Mama's Boy because he's the one that brought me and presented to me Keenan Booker's work back in 2018, early 2018, I believe. And since then, he read certain. Cause he bought the book. He got the book or he got the PDF. Wherever he got the book, he got the information, and he was explaining it on this platform back in 2018. And since then, like me, I'm a person of search for information, knowledge, books, etc. I went out and reached not only to find where to get this book, but I reached out to the author personally. And to be honest with you, there's very little authors right here. And press star 61 if you're there, Keenan. A lot of authors sometimes don't like to, talk about their works. And I say just a few. But to me, I always seek the authors of the works they put out to get into the head of the purpose of the information. You back, Keenan?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yeah. So, like I was saying earlier, Keenan, how, to present it to certain children of a certain age, it can give them some nightmares. Yeah. Because the picture.
So why you say that? What do you mean? You said at a certain age?
There's certain kids, like girls or boys, especially the girls they see some of the pictures and say, ooh, ah. And they will.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in the volume 3, there's a lot of stuff in there. I had to explain the catacomb churches, and I understood that the amount of paintings and the amount of drawings that's going on in the medieval times, which there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands. I'm talking about, man, there's so many details. And then what's really astounding is the true sizes of these murals. Some of these murals are like 10 feet by 30 feet, and just, all over the church's wall. Yeah, bro. And, it's humongous. And after staring at them and studying them, especially the ones on hell and whatnot, there's a matrix code going on. And there's a digitizing to the mind that occurs with the points and the angles that's going on inside those paintings, man. Yeah, you there. And then a heavy metaphysic is that all medieval books had a lot of paintings and drawings, So these books basically were written in medieval times due to the style and how they're constructed. you know. So because of the drawings and the paintings, and that has sort of been removed from history. One of my fans said that to me. He said, man, I got a lot of history books, and I have never seen any history books with so many drawings and so many paintings to verify what you're stating inside the literature. And I was like, man, you know, it was tons of it. It doesn't matter what subject you want to look for inside old Europe. There's tons of paintings and stuff behind it, you know, that verify it.
Because remember, paintings are a work of not only art, but what was happening during the time of history. Because the picture will send into your subconscious mind 1,000 images, you know. That really will trigger people's epigenetics by just seeing the image alone. It will resonate with them much further than the word itself. So not only will you go for the literature itself, but they will show with painting, and you could sit there and it speaks for itself. You know, I think one thing I was going through, with the page now, some of the highlights, a good historical background of the councils, from nature of Catholic council, I think it's Ecumenical Council to the Nicene Council, all worked out through the time period, you know, from the first version of the church, you know, during the era. And there are pictures of that.
Yeah, I put all the development stages, man, and there's a lot of councils. There's a council of Nicaea, there's a council of Macon. There's a lot of different councils that are throughout time that made a lot of judgments and a lot of modifications to build the religious structure that we once responded to. Religion has sort of become like a forgotten thing, and that's why the most ancient elements of it is being reborn. You know, it's because a lot of people have lost their way, and without religion, you know, the common courtesy of man depreciates. You know, humans in reality operate like animals, and the religious structures are the only thing that we have that really enforces going into a human space. Without that, the human will naturally choose on defiance and revolution, you know, whether that be revolting against your mate, revolting against the children revolting against the parents, so on and so forth. The household revolting against the community revolting against the nation and the city-state. So, you know, that's why a lot of these things are in place. But now that, you know, there is a mandate for a higher level of intelligence on the planet, there's going to have to become a lot of holes of history that have been never explained have to be fulfilled so we can move on properly. You understand?
Yes. And society has to be catch up on some part of the times, whether we like it or not. Even with this, because if you look at the plagues, even now with this disease we have in front of us now in the 21st century, that this was always been in existence with human existence, I like to say it. From the swine flu to the bird flu, which I think is the same thing, to many flus, even pandemics leading to flus, you know, that kill thousands of people. No, we are at billions of people right now, and we have the thing with the virus, the COVID situation. A lot of people understand whether it's man-made or not, this is something that's always been in human existence, you know, that, you know, man has gone through stages like this, you know.
Right.
Now, for purpose, go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead, keep going.
For this purpose, why it's here, I mean, I'm not going to go into that, but I'll tell you one thing, it's here nonetheless. And the people that survive, you know, it's going to be something that's going to be written in the history books at the end of the day, you know. I think one thing that was caught a lot of people's attention, because our president has this virus now. I'm not sure what your views on it, but I think he might survive this, maybe, I don't know. But it'll be interesting if he'll be the first of any, if he does transition. It'll be something that a president dies during a second term or before he's able to pursue a second term. That'll be something new. I could be wrong because I don't really not well versed in regards to the history of presidents, but I don't remember something like this back in the last century. You get me? I know presidents have died during office, but not like this, So.
I think Woodrow Wilson got really sick with the Spanish flu epidemic in 1920. And,
really? Okay.
Yeah, and it was during the course of presidency and all of it. It was during the course of a campaign run, and supposedly, I think one of the campaign runners died. Somebody that was running for president died.
Oh, I see. Interesting. It's a good thing you brought this to my attention, Keenan, because that was a century ago, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And what happened
was... I was
shocking.
surprised how history is slowly repeating itself, and it's going to be a different scenario. The table's going to be turned with this one. If everything falls out.
Well, they say Fauci looks like, well, there was another doctor that was the public doctor at that time, and he looks just like the Fauci of today.
Okay.
So, there's some type of matrix system that's going on. What it thoroughly is, I can't explain.
But, Well, it's something to look into. And a lot of people hearing this, I think y'all should do your own research, look into it a little more, but that's something good to bring up. One thing you did mention before we even did this stream, because you did tell me this a year ago or a year and a half ago before you released the third life, you also brought in light of the role of the Moors in Volume 3 in regards to this book. What major role the Moors left or they played during the help of the Europeans of their survival during 700 to 1700?
Well, that's not what was focused on inside the Volume 3. Okay. What was focused on inside the Volume 3 was Moors inside Catholicism and their involvement inside Catholicism and the metaphysics of a lot of black saints as well, and also that's fused with the Black Madonnas as well. We have to understand that, Catholicism really embodies everything, and there's a specific type of thought that goes with it, and all blacks aren't the same, and some blacks have different levels of thought pattern skills than what others do. So you have to understand that a religion is nothing but a psychological lock. It's a psychological software program, So Islam is one, Christianity is one, Catholicism is one, and Judaism is one, And the Moors were inside of Catholicism, and their representation inside Catholicism was bringing those who were kidnapped by the Islamic Moors back to the Catholic thought, which is also titled as the Christian thought, which is similar but not one and the same. Catholicism is the female, Christianity is the male. Catholicism is the battery in the heart, Christianity is more like the puppet that covers that heart and that soul that Catholicism has. Mm-hmm. So you don't really get to it.
You can speak up a little bit. Just speak. You sound low. Just speak up a little bit, just a little bit.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better. Go
okay. On. Yeah. So Catholicism is the battery, basically. That's where everything happens. That fulfill the spaces, like when you were talking about the relics earlier and real blood and all of that. That real blood is the battery that supports the term, the blood of Jesus, when you say it in a Christian church here in America. And that's why it has all of the weight inside that word to inflect and operate on you, because there is a real representation of it that you just didn't know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
You see how that works?
Yes.
So when it comes to the Moors, you have a lot of black saints, a lot of black male saints, a lot of black female saints. There are also black female saints that are on the outside of the black Madonnas. Those are two different things. You have to understand that Catholicism, and this section of Catholicism, has more black images than any other religion underneath the sun. Okay?
Interesting.
Yeah, and they've been hidden from us for a very long time, and the energy is correlated directly to us. For instance, Saint Benedict the Moor. Saint Benedict the Moor, which has churches, schools, and cities here in America, is an incorruptible saint that's located in Palermo, Italy, that is the patron saint for African Americans here in America. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So how come we never knew about this, or Moors never told us anything about this? Because the Moorish mind frame is not based upon intelligence and love as Catholicism or the expansion of Judaism is. What their mentality is based upon is self-centerism and worship. Because if it wasn't, then they would have told you about all Moors instead of just Islamic Moors.
I see.
Right. You know, so it's either a limitation of intelligence and a limitation of research, or we have an ulterior motive and an agenda.
Well, there's always an agenda for a lot of things that nothing's really revealed to the public. Public got to do their own research to find what is hidden. I mean, the information is out here, but I think overall, Keenan, a lot of people are very lazy to search out and have an understanding of just the basic information to search for greater information. Because it's not something that these people hide from us often. They actually dare us to read the information. I remember Amos Woods did a lecture on this thing. Nothing is hidden amongst your eyes. He dares you to read the information. And a lot of people just refuse to do it. You know? They'd rather be spoon-fed to what is they want. Yeah. Hello? Oh, sorry. Hear me? All good?
No, I wasn't saying anything. Go ahead.
Yeah. They want to be spoon-fed information. But nothing is to be spoon-fed. You have to search and seek, like everything else, to get understanding. You know? And I'm not really well-versed with the Moors. I asked that question because, you know, there's some role the Moors have. Matter of fact, I go even a step further. I know certain women, how they mention about, they read about Moorish history, and they always go back to what the Moors did that got our people in the situation they're in. And somebody say how the Moors used to bathe Caucasian women and let the sisters that were Moors clean these women up while the men prepared to, you know, engage in, you know, fornication and all that stuff. And I think it's much deeper than that. You know, the Moors brought a sense of their knowledge and, you know, wisdom, and there was going to be a point where they were going to lose the power, so they had to pass it on to somebody, you know, because no one just do anything for coincidence. Everything is done for purpose, design, in better words. I could be wrong, but that's how I view it, you know. And we go ahead. You go ahead. Yeah.
The Moorish upbringing in Europe is erased for a reason. And the reason why it's erased is because it's far more embarrassing than what it is for what you find in the medieval. The Moors were doing some extreme foul stuff to those Europeans, bro. And it's written all in history.
Oh, really? I got to hear this.
Yeah, they were doing, bro. You have to understand, man. They were doing a lot of foul stuff, bro. And that's why you saw the backlash with the slave trade. That's why you saw the banishment. The Moors today
are classified as criminals. They were excommunicated out of Europe, and only criminals get excommunicated out of Europe. This is written in the Treaty of Friendship that they were excommunicated. So that means you're classified as a criminal when that happens to you, and that's their status right now. So if you go underneath the status of a Moor socially in the Western civilization picture, you're automatically classifying yourself as a criminal. It's damn near stating you're a felony. You're a felon. And you're making yourself a felon by wearing the fez. The fez is outside of the Western social picture. You're putting yourself on the outside. So it's basically suicide when you put yourself on the outside. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So, yeah, when the information state, they kissed Queen Isabella's foot and got kicked out of Morocco, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
that was the last stronghold. That was the last stronghold in Grenada. My bad. Yeah, it was Grenada. Yeah. Grenade.
So all these cat dudes that's trying to still carry on traditional Moorish ways from the Rabés and all these cats that I know.
Where are they at, B? Like, what do you got, B?
They push a rhetoric and they're
Yeah, you're pushing a rhetoric and you're criminals. I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, you get on the YouTube out of nowhere. It's been 50, 60 years. Nobody ever heard of your shit in America. You come in, you get on the YouTube, and automatically, we have all the answers to all your law issues because we know you niggas ain't got nothing but law issues in this motherfucker. If YouTube didn't happen, we would have ever found out about Morris. And he really like.
You're right.
You see what I'm saying, bro? The agent of chaos and the mixture, brother,
Yeah, indeed. Well, I know a little bit more about. I don't really emphasize reading much about the history anyway, because I always have suspects. I had like a booklet called More Means Dead, and a brother wrote this book and broke down everything about these people, and said that means not only death but physically and spiritually dead, and it makes sense why they're criminals, man. Even now, sometimes I'm trying to fight the laws, the system. I'm trying to get a statue. How are they gonna respect you? You're a criminal. You know what I'm saying?
They're criminals. They're asking you, give me $1,500 for some papers. I change your life, and change your name, and we give you a.
Yeah. And people always complain, say, I gave this Moor some money and I didn't get what I deserve. Well, you now know why. They're criminals. You got screwed by a thief. Anyway. Let me check something. Another thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to check if anybody raised their hand on here, see if they have any questions. One thing, I didn't really get across this chapter. It says, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. What was that about in this particular section of Volume 3? You there? Oh, yeah. Oh, he dropped. Give me a second, people. Oh, and another call again is 712-770-4160. The access code 915-411#. I repeat, 712-770-4160. Access code 915-411#. Tonight's subject, Chaos Reign presents Kicked Out of Heaven, Volume 3, with Keenan Booker. Keenan, now that you're back, one other question I do want to ask. This one is dealing with, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that's
You didn't say it. You want me to go in on that Bible verse real quick?
Hell yeah, doing that. Yeah.
Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Women become witches later in age. Hysteria. Hysteria comes from sexual deprivation. Okay? So the old mammy, she shuts down the coonie. The coonie turns her crazy. The craziness turns her into cat lady. Don't suffer her to live. She is suffering in the cat lady status. She smells 80 dogs when she wakes up. She looks for babies to eat on. Okay? She has gone mad. Why has she gone mad? Because that little uterus in her is a live being that demands much attention. And your outfit that carries on the being has degenerated into a wrinkled bag. Okay? And hopefully that wrinkled bag isn't supported by liquor. And if it is supported by liquor, you got a whole other problem on your hands. So basically what I'm telling you is that by default, the majority of women devolve into witches. And what is a witch? A witch is any female that can cast a headache or any type of stomach-wrenching feeling upon you by her behavior, her actions, or her words. Okay? So you get into an argument with a woman due to the fact that she can give you a headache through the course of the argument. You have been affected by witchcraft by a witch. Now, why is that the case? Because the headache is going to encourage erectile dysfunction. And too many of these headaches will cripple your dick. And when you cripple your dick, then guess what?
Speak up, Keenan. Your line's breaking up.
Okay.
I can hear you good. I can hear you better. Go ahead. I want to hear this.
Okay, you encourage erectile dysfunction. When you encourage erectile dysfunction, then that means you can't get the juice out of the back. You can't get the oxytocin out of her vagina, and therefore she will not be in submissive love format to you. Why? Because it is the natural inclination of human beings and all beings to control something. So she wants to control you. And in order for her to be in the superior or dominant position of control, she cannot have sex. Hence, a witch cannot pass iron. Iron is the number one metal, is the top metal inside human blood. Okay? And it also assists with the movement of blood through the veins, which brings the erection. Iron in the man's body brings the erection that the woman will submit to once you get the oxytocin out of her, and she will no longer be able to have the capability to run shit or to be a witch or to talk power. So you have to understand that the whole element of being a witch is based on making a man have erectile dysfunction. They're discouraging.
Wow. Well, a lot of witches, they don't like males. Last time I checked, I could be wrong. They always try and cast a spell.
Right, but see, casting a spell is guilt tripping you in the middle of your sentence.
Okay.
Right. So you say, you say, I don't know why these girls always dyeing their hair blue, and the girl next to you says, why you got to be so judgmental? Why can't you do this? It's like, you know what? That's not what I meant. Boom, 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 boom. She guilt tripped you. She guilt tripped you and knocked you off the square from your original statement. And that's witchcraft. Yeah, witchcraft is in the social communication, bro. It's not in no we eating frogs and boiling babies and shit. Even though those are other psychological zones of the witch that are occurring at the same time. So when we're talking about like boiling babies or whatever, baby blood, menstrual blood, from her every month, her monthly menses basically, is in essence baby blood. Okay. The fall of man, or the valley of death, hence you release your orgasm inside the dark canal of the vagina, and that weakens you. That is also a form of death. Having an orgasm is a form of death. So all of these things that they've been saying over time are really correlating towards, the life and death principles of the vagina, okay? Because it contains both, as it has two arms. It thinks it's a balanced structure. It is a live entity of its own, It has a mass level of intelligence.
Indeed. Yes. That blood ain't nothing to joke with.
Right, because see, when we talk about that, you see, the uterus by itself has the responsibility of developing both male and female, correct?
Correct.
Right. So it also has the responsibility of developing the mind of the male and the female, correct?
Yep.
These mind structures are essentially inside of darkness, as the vagina is inside the woman's body, which is a location of darkness, right? Just like the males, inside the body, there is no light. What you have to understand is that the mind structure that the uterus designs for a female is called witchcraft. The mind structure that the male has is called the devil. You understand? You see, like, for instance, a father gives law and instruction, right?
Yep, he's supposed to be the order of the house.
Right. Law and instruction is only enforced and maintained by violence, correct?
Yeah, because men have the ability to destroy and build.
And men have to create the violence, right? So due to the fact that you have to conduct violence, you are essentially an evil being. Because it is violent, what you are doing. It doesn't matter if your violence does constitute to a form of progression or security. The fact and bottom line is that you conduct violence. You see? So, right, bro, there is some large levels of stuff that's going on here. I know we sort of got off the topic with me talking about the uterus, but
it's all education.
Oh, yeah.
It's all
that stuff is going to... Go ahead now.
All this is educational purpose. This is some learning as we go. So a lot of people what they read or understand of uterus is much deeper than they expected, And usually in it is more metaphysical. It's actual way of life. When you look at it, what is the real purpose for? You get me?
Right. And I got a lot of...
We do have one person that raised their hand. Let me see who this is. All right. Mass, open your line. Who's this?
What's going on, man? JNYC. All right, so I want to clarify a couple of things so I could understand what I just heard, right? So first of all, is this for educational purposes or entertainment purposes? I just want to clarify that.
This is really educational because Keenan Booker, as the guy that's my guest tonight, and you heard him before, he wrote 3-volume set of Kicked Out of Heaven. This is actually a historical piece of Eurocentric culture and history for the first 10,000 years, from 700 to 1700, allegedly. Is
he a doctor of a sort or of any kind?
I'm going to let Keenan explain that for himself. Keenan, you there?
I'm right here.
Are you a doctor, sir?
I'm being classified as that. Yeah, you could say that, I guess. Yeah.
All right, but you never went to school, like you didn't you're not a gynecologist. Did you work on women in any of your time, in the medical field? Did you work with women, work on women, things like that?
Yeah, I've delivered children. Yeah, all of that. I've created douches. I've done all types of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So because again, I'm just trying to clarify, understand. When you talk about women not using their uterus, and two things with them being witches. So one is are you saying, and again, I'm just trying to clarify, are you saying that the woman, when she gets older, her uterus, if she doesn't use it, basically she's no good, and then does she become, when you say a witch, are you talking about a witch that uses a broom? Are you saying a witch as in her behavior, as acting evil? Clarify that for me so I could understand it a little bit.
Okay. Well, the witch broom symbology, the broom is a phallic symbol. The hat that they use is also a phallic symbol. And the nose that she has is also a phallic symbol. All of these are different representations of phallic symbols. For instance, the broom is not only ownership, but it's also household defiance because of using the broom in a standpoint of not what it's supposed to be used for. She is reverting the usage of the broom, which is also defiance of the order of the household, okay? And not only it being the ownership principle. The ownership principle as her flying. Now, when we want to talk about the medieval, the literal status of what was being stated in court trials by witches during the 1400s and 1500s is that they used baby blood in order to rub on these sticks in order to fly. Now, this is symbology. From what we know today, what was going on in the literal of those time periods, we wouldn't be able to retest. Hence, some of the ingredients, like baby blood and other things, are unattainable for us to even test it. So that's what they stated what was going on. The phallic symbol of the nose is correlating to insatiability, which is also animalistic, as animals don't have chins. It's humans that have chins. So that divides our standpoint in usage. We don't meet immediately with our nose as a dog or hogs would or bears would. But we do have the same power and sense, and the majority of our decision-making is based off of scent and smell, okay? But the phallic symbol in it is insatiability, and that's correlated to the wolf or the hog. The hog, who is a sign of obesity, will eat to obesity. The wolf has a level of ravaging that is expressed through the nose being a phallic symbol. And this is also correlated to the witch and being an animal and being insatiable in her desires, okay? And that can also be sexually ravaging, and that's also dealing with children and infanticide. Now, the canonical hat is ownership of an erect phallus, which you will also find witches who have a limp tip on their hat, and that limp tip is an erectile dysfunction phallus, and she's showing ownership of both. Now, this is all symbology that was given to us on our Halloweens. Black, and then the color black as well, is correlated to the inside of the womb. Okay, so that's all symbology that we see that is correlated and is representing the old woman that devolves in life and ends up being the cat lady. They are both one and the same. What you have to understand is that these are European historical situations that we've never been taught. So we don't know the layers of what we've been witnessing since a child. But this is what they're talking about. What they're talking about is the old age that women fall into and their lack of usage of society and the way society does not identify them anymore, and also their lack of capacity of beauty usage. And also attraction from their own children or even grandchildren for that matter, and they end up devolving into cat ladies. And that's also
so when you say cat ladies, you're talking about women that own a bunch of cats in their home?
Yeah, hoarders, cat ladies, women on meds, women falling off into crystal meth, they're falling off into alcoholism. Women who close their legs and disappear into religion. They disappear into groups helping degenerates, feeding the homeless, soup and soup drives and things of that nature.
to keep themselves constantly busy because the body is always making sexual secretion, and the sexual secretion is a hyperjuice, okay? So they have a hyperjuice that's being developed in their body, and this is also what's going on with black males. This is why, prostate cancer calcifies. Prostates get calcified by no sperm usage going through the gland. So basically what I'm telling you is that in the black culture, our elders aren't having sex, and that's part of the reason they're insane, and that's part of the reason they're hitting casket early. And that's also part of the reason why we don't have any money. Huh?
Would you say that happens to all women that are not using their uterus or having any sexual functions or activity?
Right.
So you're saying that 99% of the women that do not have sex after a certain time, this happens to, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
This information goes all the way back to ancient Egypt, Greece, Rome, medieval. It's everywhere. This is part of the reason why tribes didn't marry women off. I mean, why tribes married little girls off at 12 years old. All of these are the reasons why they operated with women the way they did in the ancient world, and we've always been scratching our heads on why. The main reason we're scratching our heads is because this information was taken out of the dictionaries, taken out of the encyclopedias, and taken out of our social understanding during the late 1800s, early 1900s, and then came in with the World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War. They killed off all the men that maintained this type of intelligence, and then shoved in the single mother program with the credit card. And now we're sitting up here all sick, fat, and nasty, wearing pajamas with the coronavirus. You see, because
very interesting.
And don't forget, feminism came into play too, Keenan. After feminism too. Don't forget about feminism.
Oh yeah, well, feminism is a part of the program, but feminism wasn't even written by women. You have to understand that the projects that you see in the 1920s, 1930s that had been implemented had already been mastered in the 1700s. They were already written and studied and concreted. Cuckoldry.
Oh, wow.
Bro, okay. The sciences that we were talking about earlier about a political catching the disease and the effect that society may have on it, or the effect that society may have from a political catching the disease and dying or living, all of that was mastered by the 1700s, bro. They did that with kings in the 1600s. There was kings dying of plagues in front of the community. They know how the society is going to respond back and forth. That's what I'm saying. That's why I bring this information to the game, because us as a people have been stuck in all this religious nonsense, and you don't know anything about psychology, sociology, the true in-depthness of theology, anthropology, biology, and the like, and how they're all intertwined, and how that is the mastery of our picture. Period. Colors, numbers, shapes. Okay. All this other stuff that we try to include about who did the Muhammad, who did this, who did that, all of that is nonsense. Extreme nonsense. Because when you break your bone, you break your arm and you call 911, they don't ask you who your God is. They ask you your location.
True. It's true.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So the everything that I just broke down to you with the relation of the witch and the old woman are very old dynamics. So, for instance, that's all witchcraft, right? And then I explain the erectile dysfunction. I keep bouncing back to sex. You want to know why? Because on the flip side of the same coin is cuckoldry, right? Cuckoldry is Christianity, right? Okay? Adam and Eve got pregnant by somebody else, okay? Then you got the Jesus picture. Gabriel came down and boned Mary. Joseph had to raise Jesus, right? That's cuckoldry, you see? When you allow another man to impregnate your wife and you raise the child, all right? So that is a whole nother
software system that's embedded in our everyday social. Our everyday social is at least 60% cuckoldry based. The science of mooning somebody or all of that type of stuff is all cuckoldry related. There's 72 different forms of cuckolds that a lot of people didn't know. Cosmopolitan is a form of cuckold. Cosmopolitan is a magazine. He's the type of cuckold that designs his house like a hotel and treats the guest that comes to bone his wife like hotel guests. He sits down and plays cards with him and all that other stuff. And you have to understand that it's all about sustenance and survival. They marry because it is a part of the core of what we do is male and female. Not because necessarily we have a beautiful sex life or not because, we look good together outside in public and the ones who are the royals in the higher financial classes, they definitely make sure that they look good outside in public. The wife has to have a maintenance of the angel imagery, and that is why, breast augmentation and all of that type of stuff has been in the picture for a long time. That stuff was going on in the 1400s as well, and that's a part of the picture of perfection that they maintain for the community. That doesn't mean that's what's going on inside the household. So, and that's where the pool boy comes in. The wife bones on the pool boy every now and again. She can't breastfeed, because it'll make her breast sag, and then she'll lose her angel imagery. The angel perfection of a female is going to bounce off of you as a male. So a lot of the selections that, males choose with their women are based on the intention of being able to control and rule the household by making sure her beauty isn't that high. And with that mentality, you'll never be progressive inside business because business, like products, demands beauty. So if you don't choose on a beautiful wife, you damn sure can't produce a beautiful product. And that is what's going on. That's another layer of what's going on with a lot of us. Yeah, there's a lot of metaphysical and alchemical ways to go about your socialism that black people don't understand. That that they've mastered. They mastered this stuff hundreds of years ago.
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of things they have experimented and mastered for centuries, and now a lot of people are just catching up to this information now. And I think somebody wrote something in the chat room, and I'm waiting for them to respond back. Let me see, they didn't respond back. So
let me ask the brother, though. Let me ask the brother, did I clarify that good enough for you with the witch and the female clarification? What did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've really never thought about it that way. First time I heard something like this. So, you learn new things every day. So, yeah, I just wanted to get, what angle you was coming from, how you connect the two, and I understand it more or less on how you put it together.
Yeah, it's a complex picture. That's why I asked, for you to bounce it back to me real quick because it is complex. It took me a long time to figure that out. For the information to sit and, merge in my brain and, the discussions with other people, but this is what they're talking about. There's also a castration side of it. There's witch castration, which is a symbology of erectile dysfunction, you see. And, being at the stake, where can you find the symbology of that today? You can find that with strippers on the pole, burning, dark room. Any dark room where women are dancing is called a Sabbath, There's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of stuff trapped inside witchcraft and trapped inside Western history that operates on the totality of mankind like a magic system today. Straight up. And people don't even know it,
Yeah.
And that's what I'm proving. And it's real weird because I felt it when you asked me about the witch thing because it's like, yeah, we saw this silly shit as a child, and I'm in the same spot, We saw the werewolf stuff, and this is, movie, blah, 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 We don't really know what they're talking about. On another level of what the witch is,
these characters are characters that are loaded inside the unconscious zone of human thinking. Whenever the mind was built for humans to have, these characters are in your unconscious for your survival. So, let's say, what's one? I guess ravaging of a werewolf would be one, because that werewolf character is down there. You haven't eaten in 4 or 5 days. I put a plate of food of you. How are you going to go about it? You're going to ravage. If you become a fiend of any one element and I depreciate you from that element, you will attack it in a ravaging format. Whatever your desire is, you see. If you have a true inclination to achieve your desire, then you know how to ravage. See, I know how to ravage. When I want something done, I want it done. And there will be nothing in my way that will stop me from achieving my goal. If you attempt to get in my way, please bring a body bag with you, because that's what's going to occur. These levels of thought is hard for natives to get. You got to go through a lot of trauma to get to this. They got to this by seeing a lot of carcasses, a lot of the plague events, a lot of criminals were robbing. Criminals during that time were doing a lot of different stuff than what you see of today. And criminals of that time were far more violent than what you could ever imagine. A lot of things that are in that material, those 3 volumes, your brain wouldn't even be able to conceive. So when you read the story, you're introduced to a new energy, because the stories that are in there, our modern understanding doesn't give us the grasp, that what they experienced at that time. So it's all psychological, though. But these psychological zones are very real. It's like they're trapped in the atmosphere or something,
All right, Jay. You have any other questions, Jay?
That's it, brother.
Thank
you.
Respect. Thank you. Let's see if anybody else raise their hand. The call number again is 712-770-4160. The access code is 915-411#. I repeat, 712-770-4160. The access code is 915-411#. Tonight's subject is titled Chaos Reign Presents Kicked Out of Heaven, Volume 3, with my guest, Keenan Booker. Now, my last question in this 3rd volume series, and and this is like you did talk about the execution in Volume 1, but this one deals with the Inquisition of torture chambers. Now, in regards to torture chambers, do they still have them and use them today in present time?
Well, of course, torture will never leave human existence.
Mm-hmm.
We call it torture in the Spanish Inquisition, right? But in the Native American rite, we could call it the Sundance. In the African rite, we could call it the walking fetishes of voodoo in the 1400s, 1500s. They used to make women walk for miles looking just like fetishes with nails coming out of their body, long ones. And we would consider that torturous now. But during those times, a lot of these things of people being tortured was actually volunteered. So when it comes to the Spanish Inquisition, I'm not going to say that any of those individuals volunteered, because they didn't. But what you do find is heresy. They went after the heretical groups. The heretical groups are like the Luciferians, the Brother of the Free Spirit, the Albigenses, the Waldensians, the Burghers. There's There's the Breggers, basically. There's a couple of them, and the practices that these heretical groups were keeping up were basically to drop down cultural styles of ancient sects, okay, or mixed in with tribal activity from other groups. And when I say sects, I'm talking about, orders that stem down through Egypt, through Greece, through Rome, that ended up in these heretical groups. And for the Catholic Church to burn all of these people and devour the group, they also devour the energy and the principles of what was passed down through time from Egypt all the way into the medieval. So then now it's a big fish eat little fish, and the big fish is Catholicism. So when it came to a lot of the witches got their homes taken and a lot of their riches taken. There was great booty gained with the burning of the witches, okay? And many were relaxed at the stake. That's what they were called. And the word was used, relaxed. I think the mass number of bodies that was burned in one day is up to 60,000. It's crazy. And when they relaxed you, they said, take a witch to the stake, we relaxed the witch. And anything that was against what Catholicism was saying was automatically heresy. Anything that questioned the status of what was being stated was automatically heresy, and enough to get you sent to the stake. So even a claim from a neighbor to say my neighbor's vegetables grew quicker than mine, and I would say I could go down to the court and say she's a witch that's doing magical arts on her vegetables, even though all she did was water them 2 times more a day than what I did. And they would send her to the stake. Now, before they sent her to the stake, they put her on the question. The question is the original word for the word torture. So when the police interrogate you or ask you a question and make you sweat, understand that it's not them making you sweat. It's all the millions of souls that's inside the word question that's making you sweat. Okay? Now, they send her to the question, and they say, who is else there? You serve the devil. Who are you? What are you doing? Boom, boom, boom. Give us names of people who serve the devil, who dance at the Sabbath. And she explains the Sabbath, and she names everybody who was there. She names everybody in her town. She names family members. She names children. She names people in the neighboring town. And ahoy, we go to search for the soul. And they go get all the friends that she mentioned that flew at the Sabbath with the goats with her. And they send them all to the stake that same day. 600, 800, 900, 1,000 people. So shall it be. They wrap them up on the stake. They wrap blankets around them for a long midst of burning. And in order to flame the body at the stake, my friend, you have to keep it at least 6,000 degrees Fahrenheit plus. So much tar and oil is used in a specific format they have to use, and that's why the faggot was thrown at the feet. The faggot was a bundle of sticks during this time. So back to the word relax. The word relax is the word we use to pacify you, to make you subsist. It is close to the word sleep, okay? And sleep is what? The cousin of death. So when I say, honey, I'm tired, I'd like to relax right now, which is bringing me close to the status of death, right? It is that way, and that pacification works because of all those witches who were burnt underneath the said usage of that word by going to the stake. Okay. So remember that next time you use the word relax. And it's also an inquisition word on the standpoint that you use it if somebody was to come up to you irate and try to interrupt your discussion. They come up to you right and try to interrupt your discussion with a subject matter that is not in relation to the subject matter that you are speaking with your comrade on. What will they do? You will say, relax, bro. Whoa, bro, relax. And you're trying to pacify. And you do that with the many witches' souls that come screaming through your mouth in order to make that pacification work. And that's how it's done. So understand, a lot of the words you use are nothing but cemeteries. These are hermetic sciences right here. Took thousands of years to get this shit in place.
I see. Well, one thing that I just came across, because, when I was going through the back end of the book, it deals with alien astrology and alchemy. Now, in regards to aliens, I always hear when people come say, they always ask me this question, Brother Chaos, do the aliens exist? I said, possibly. I'm not sure. I couldn't really give an answer, but if there is different information about that in the books, then, it's probably valid.
Well, there's a little specs. I put up a couple of pictures because there were some medieval paintings that gave the possibility. You have to understand that what we're dealing with is human thought.
Mm-hmm.
And human thought, it doesn't matter what corner of this planet you're in, they're going to look at those stars and question life and existence. And life and there's going to be aliens out there in another world. That is a question. So they master that question by making it a life. By making it alive, you see?
I see.
By embodying the element. You know what I'm saying? Of the thought of aliens. Is there really aliens? We don't know. Yeah. I hope they show up and give us a 5-minute break with all this bullshit going on the planet, but
Yeah. Real talk about that. I don't know where Earth is going to be in a minute.
Could there be another Earth somewhere far where we haven't been able to reach, where there's almost exactly the same type of beings? Maybe they don't speak like English or, the languages we speak, but could there be a possibility that there is something out there that's almost as duplicate as human beings in the Earth?
Yeah. Back to what I was saying about the uterus, when you really thoroughly understand what a human is, it's nothing but a nervous system, a brain, and some eyeballs. And that looks very alien by itself. And when it comes to, and that's just the physical, biological side, When it comes to the literal side of it, there's a possibility. Languages look very funny over there in the Eastern zone versus what we use, Technology is advanced in different areas of this planet, and it's not all being shared. There's no real unison on how we operate on totality. That kicked out of heaven definitely raises the question on alien possibility because of the level of intelligence with social mathematics. There's the understanding of socialism that is shown in those books. It has to be at alien proportion because no other phenotype of human has exhibited that level of intelligence on socialism, especially as a group. The only people that's close would be the Hindus. Yeah, the Hindus and the Chinese and the Japanese, they have very vast, large, wide systems. And the majority of the English language, which the English language is the largest magic system that's ever engulfed the entire planet.
Yes, this is true. Mostly,
yeah,
80% of people in the world speak English. I could be wrong, percentage-wise, but
Asian.
Yeah, you have to, as an air pilot, you have to learn English because, see, there's a lot of inventions that America produced for the rest of the planet. And with those inventions, in order to operate them, they had to learn English. Because it's written in English. All how we operate the car, the plane, all of that. So one of the very hardcore bases of the English language is the Hindu language. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So when you understand that part and how many gods and goddesses are embedded inside the language and what they represent and how they operate, you'll see, man, that, you know, we're dealing with a very large matrix here, you know, and a lot of that's explained in the Kicked Out of Heaven. There's a lot of words explained and a lot of ways to look at words. One way we don't understand words is our last names, you know, like the word Wilson. The last name Wilson is really the son of will, the son of willpower. So anybody who has the name Wilson would be good as a cop, good as a football player, good as a judge. You know, this will automatically be one of their lines because of their name. You know, your occupation is embedded in your name. Another one I use all the time is the Palmers. A Palmer was a type of medieval gangster that was a pickpocketer. So anybody with the last name Palmer, which is a common name for African Americans, a lot of our last names in the African Americans are actually gangster names. So a lot of the gangsterism that you see inside the black culture don't even come from the black culture. It comes from the operation of the last name, which comes from medieval gangsters. You know, I wrote about medieval gangsters, but I didn't write about the large detail. And there is a large detail of medieval gangsterism that was going down before slave trade even began.
Okay. All right, Keenan. We have gone through a good length of the show, and it's a lot for a lot of people that it might go over a lot of your heads when you go back to the playback, but this is something to digest properly. And like I said, getting this book, it brings more clarity and understanding to what he has talked about through tonight's stream, podcast, YouTube, whatever you want to call it. I advise everybody, if you never get your copy now, Kicked Out of Heaven Volume 3, get your copy now. I would say
you can go to you can go to kickedoutofheaven.com. You can go to KeenanBooker.com, and you can go to StargatePublishing.com, or my Instagram @thegod720. It should be right there.
And when you get your copy of the third volume, I recommend people get the first 2 chapters of this. You know, this right here is like the conclusion part, volume 3. But like I said, like you told me before, Keenan, it's good to start from volume 1 through 3. And mind you, there's a disclaimer going for this information. So, you know, yeah. But like always, Keenan Booker, it's great to have you as guest again. In regards to the conclusion part of this wonderful masterpiece of work of art. One last thing I would like to ask you, any other upcoming books or any projects coming up to wrap up 2020?
Well, no, I don't have any projects coming up that I want to mention now because it'll be a couple of years. But, you know, as of right now, we're going to be running on the Kicked Out of Heaven, and it's going to be going for a very long time. So anybody who wants to get the books, just go to kickedoutofheaven.com, go to KeenanBooker.com, and go to StargatePublishing.com, and you'll find it right there. Or MillenniumDVDs.com.
All right. And like always, to one brother to another, I appreciate you coming back here with your wealth of knowledge and understand wisdom to our people and to people in general. And like anything, this is more of an educational portion of things. So, like I said, you know, a lot of people that go back to they feel this might be boring information, might not pose any importance in life, but everything is for a reason, you know, for better understanding, you know.
Right.
I'm a person, I like to deal with the information as entirely, you know what I'm saying, and leave nothing off the table as a brother. So thank you again for coming by again. And, yeah, we might do this again soon. All right, brother?
All right, then. Just let me know. I'll be here.
All right.
Thanks.
Take care. Thank you again.
Right.
And I'd like to thank everybody that participated, listening, and called in to tonight's show. I appreciate it. If you missed anything, please catch a replay of this great stream. And like always, I will leave the links in the description of this stream. So be on the lookout for that. But otherwise, thank you for listening. Until next time, my people, take care and good night.
I'd like to give a special thanks to my special guest, Keenan Booker, the God 720. And if you want to purchase your 3-volume set of Kicked Out of Heaven, volumes 1, 2, and 3, you must go to his website. All information of the links will be in the description at the end of this podcast stream. And like always, comment, subscribe, and like this video. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChaosReign7. Thank you for listening. Until next time, let it chaos reign.